Three microphones.
Before we get started with the freeholder debate, there's a few other people that came in here that we'd like to recognize. Assemblyman Anthony Bucco is here. Former Assemblyman Dick Heyman, I know, is here somewhere, right there, somewhere. Our freeholders, David Scapicchio and John Krickus was here. And the Mayor Bob Davis of Chester, I know, is here. And our Mayor, Rob Greenbaum from Mount Olive, could not make it. He did send a text over to apologize, but he was not there. So, with that, the candidates are in the positions already. To go over one more time for the rules so you all know in case we didn't hear it, we have a single moderator, which is Jake McCarthy. Candidates are in order. They're 1 through 5, and there'll be opening statements would go this way, and then they'll reverse it at the end. You'll be giving 90 seconds for an opening statement and 90 seconds for a closing statement. Each will be a format of question and rebuttal, and then Jake will moderate that. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer, and you'll have a 30-second rebuttal. But again, no rebuttals will be taken until after all candidates answer the questions. Mark Armstrong, the timekeeper, will hold up the yellow 15-second and the flag when you're finished. So before I introduce the candidates, one of the candidates, Kathy DiFilippo, who could not be here tonight, had sent a message over, which I'll just read. It says, "I'm very sorry that I cannot be here with you tonight. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you during the campaign and to discuss with you the important issues facing Morris County. Many of you know I am the Deputy Mayor of Roxbury Township, and I have served as Mayor, and that I am completing my 8th year on the Township Council. You know about how hard we have worked in Roxbury to bring a zero tax increase budget, and how we expect to be debt-free in about 5 years. In Roxbury, we believe is pay as you go. We watch every penny, and I'll bring that commitment of fiscal conservatism to the county freeholders, which, as you know, also brought a zero tax increase budget this year. What most of you may not know is that I am the proud parent of 3 children, Scott, Laura, Jean, and Robbie. This Sunday, our only daughter, Laura Jean, will be married. I know you will understand that my family commitment comes first. Please accept my best wishes and my promise with your support on June 4th, and I, along with my team, Morris running mates, Tom Mastrangelo and Doug Cabana, will work hard for the people of Morris County. Kathy DiFilippo." With that, the candidates, Tom Mastrangelo, Doug Cabana, Stephen DeHart, and Barbara Ames are here, and we will begin our debate.
We'll start with opening statements, 90 seconds each, and we'll go in the order in which the numbers were picked, beginning with candidate Ames. You're welcome to use the podium.
Good evening. Thank you for having us all here. I'm Barbara Ames. I live in Whippany, New Jersey. I'm a candidate for Freeholder. I am a conservative. I believe in limited government and less taxes and spending. And I can tell you, as I knock on doors of people in Morris County, that's what they want. When I tell them that that's what I favor, that's what I will work for, they almost look at me and laugh because they don't believe it can really happen in America anymore. How do we bring that trust back to government? I was a member of my school board for many years. I was also Morris County School Board President a number of years ago. I have been an elected Morris County committee person for about 10 or 12 years and have worked very, very hard in that capacity to get folks out to vote, very active in the Romney election. Unfortunately, that didn't go the way we wanted, did it? But we worked very hard at that anyway. I have 3 issues that I've raised in the campaign that are about cutting spending and limiting government. The first one is the open space question, where 25% of Morris County is preserved for open space, and we're still taxing. The second piece is about regional control, government, unelected bureaucrats controlling our counties and telling us what to do in terms of planning. That's the HUD grants. Secondly, the budget process. Freeholders have certainly done things to cut costs. In some ways, their costs are really not that low. We need, with economic times that are tough and coming, we need to do more. Thank you.
Stephen DeHart. I had a degree in economics and moved back from Salisbury University, where I graduated, back to Pequannock, where I was born and raised with my wife, Irina, who, please stand up and wave real quick. She's a CPA and she works in Parsippany. Also, I am a business owner. I have a tent rental business, and I'm a partner in a real estate company. I have financial experience and knowledge to represent all of us, the taxpayers in Morris County. I'm a constitutionalist. I have very strong constitutional values, as well as I'm very fiscally conservative. I'm basically a new face with the oldest ideas. I'd also like to say that my family has been here since 1672, and they fought in the Revolutionary War in Morris County itself. There's streets like the Hart Street over in Morristown where they used to store ammo and form militias as well. Some of the issues that I'd like to bring up is the fact of since the Improvement Authority was created in 2002, the issuing of bonds have nearly doubled. I see this as a serious issue for the future of our economy and the taxes for our children and our grandchildren. I just want to see a reduction in the issuing of these bonds through the Improvement Authority to things such as private companies as well as low-income housing. Okay. I also would like to hold a circuit Q&A. As freeholder, I'd like to do Q&As throughout the town municipalities, and this way get the questions from the people themselves, because most people don't even know what their county representatives do. Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Tom Mastrangelo, Morris County Freeholder Director, and thank you for spending the time here with us tonight to hear about this freeholder race. I stood in front of many of you 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago actually, and I made some promises. I made a promise to reduce taxes, I made a promise to reduce spending, and we made a promise to reduce transparency. We reduced taxes. We reduced taxes from 300 the spending by 2.3 million. We reduced taxes on the operating budget from 317 million in 2012 to 311 million in 2013. We reduced borrowing for 2013 7.7 million. Now, we also delivered a 0% tax increase, first time in 15 years. We reduced the open space by $4 million. In the last 2 years, we've cut the open space by 50%. In the last 6 years, the open space tax has been cut 6 times. So we are intelligently, very gradually reducing taxes, because the most important thing is the services that we deliver. So I look forward to working with you and having this debate be very spirited tonight, and I thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Doug Cabana. I'd like to thank you all for coming here this evening to the West Morris Candidates Forum. I love coming to these forums because these forums provide the opportunity for you, the residents and voters of Morris County, to compare the candidates. And you'll see this election cycle, there is a huge difference between the candidates. I'm proud to be running with Tom Mastrangelo and Kathy DiFilippo because we represent good government, the good government in Morris County that the taxpayers and residents have come to expect. There are 20 other counties in the state of New Jersey that wish they could be run like Morris County, and we live here and we're that fortunate. And I'm sure through this evening, you will see the differences between the two slates, and I hope in the end you will agree that Cabana, Mastrangelo, and DiFilippo deserve your support. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll begin with questions. Again, to go over the rules, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. When all 4 candidates have answered, we will then move on to rebuttal in the same order in which you answered the questions. Each candidate will have 30 seconds of rebuttal. And I will alternate throughout the questioning so you don't all answer in the same order. Question 1. What is your position on the privatization of the Morris View Nursing Home? If you support privatization, what is your plan to outsource the facility? We'll begin with Freeholder Cabana.
More than 10 years ago, the Freeholder Board took over the Morris View Nursing Home from the Independent Board of Social Services. At the time, the county's contribution exceeded $16 million a year to run the facility. over the years, the freeholders have worked very diligently in their efforts to reduce the contribution of Morrissey from the taxpayers and increase the revenues that are receiving in the nursing home. We've improved marketing of the facility. We've privatized many segments of the operation. And by privatizing the operation, we saved substantial money, where our contribution is now a little less than $4 million a year. A far cry. But I don't think that it should be privatized, because the care component, I believe, must be maintained by the freeholders, and this facility must be run for the residents who so desperately need the services that are offered at the nursing home.
Okay, Master.
I'm next. What's that? We will continue to drive cost out of the model. Just recently, last year, we outsourced the housekeeping function of Morrisview. The outsourcing allowed us to maintain the quality of that service, but at the same rate, reduce the cost of that service. We will continue to look for ways to outsource functions within Morrisview where it makes sense. And in regards to privatization, privatization is not on the table, and we will continue to operate the facility as it is today.
Candidate DeHart.
I'm always in favor of privatization of things, especially when it comes to government programs and services. I believe that, you've heard my opponents speak about certain things that they say they would like to look at and areas they'd like to cut spending. However, I don't believe that any of us on this board know how to run a nursing home as well as a company itself would be able to, and especially more responsibly. I look at it more like a distribution of wealth in a way. There's 280 residents that go to Morrisview. And the fact is that a lot of our tax money, actually $30 million of it, goes to Morrisview. And that's 10% of our budget this year. That's a lot of money to be putting into a program, especially when we have the opportunity to privatize it for 280 residents. We pay 10% of our budget towards that. Thank you.
I'm very well aware that the county has done a lot to drive costs out of that model, and that's a very good thing. I guess I'm neutral on it. I know that they have outsourced or contracted out everything except the nursing services. And, if there's going to be a move to look at how to drive more costs out of that, I'd certainly be open to that. It's not an issue that I feel strongly about. I believe we should be as efficient as we can about delivering that service. But I'm kind of neutral and I would follow whatever the consensus of the Freeholder Board would be on that issue.
Freeholder Cabana, any rebuttal?
No rebuttal.
Freeholder Master.
Yeah, I'll just add that Morrisview is extremely run efficiently well. It's extremely rated, highly rated, and it's about helping people. It's about helping people, and if you can help people and still deliver the service and drive the costs down and continue to do that, and that's something I think we have an obligation to do as elected officials.
Candidate DeHart, any rebuttal? Any rebuttal, Candidate DeHart?
I'm a very big proponent of capitalism and free market, so that's my position when it comes to privatization of programs and services.
Candidate Ames, any rebuttal?
No, I would just say if we were to look to cut more costs someplace else, I know that the county owns 5 golf courses, and that certainly would be a priority to me to look at cost efficiencies there, whether we should be in the golf business before I would look to the nursing home, certainly to eliminate providing those services. I would not seek to do that.
Okay. Next question. What is your position on merging the park police and the sheriff's department? Freeholder Master Angelo.
Sure. My position is that it's an option that we need to look at. We are looking at it bi-directionally. Sheriff to the park police to the sheriff. In addition, looking at other options as well. And that's something we're studying at the moment, and we will come up with a decision on what we do or don't do.
Candidate DeHart.
Slightly disappointed with the overall consensus because there's been 3 studies that are being done, and each one has cost us around $45,000 a piece. I think that's an extreme waste of money to have 3 studies on one issue such as this. But the study does say that it is not economically feasible. Also, it doesn't coincide with my constitutional beliefs, which is that is not smaller government in my opinion. Merging the park police along with the county sheriff office. The county sheriff is actually, they're jurisdicted more with the how would you say, correctional facilities. And for them to come out of there would not only not be economically feasible, but to be able to come into our parks and our municipalities would allow larger government to come into local municipalities. And I am not a fan of bringing larger government into local municipalities.
Candidate Ames.
Yeah, I've read the survey, the study also, the recent one, and I'm aware that it did not support any consolidation with the civil service issues and whatnot. I guess if there were anything to be done, I would, in conjunction with my general beliefs that lower levels of government deal with things better than higher levels of government. If there could be any savings that would come from policemen in the towns taking care of the parks in their town, the county parks in their town, if there could be a savings achieved from that, that would be the way I would seek to go with it. But at the moment, this study does not say that there would be any savings. You know, if we could figure out a way later to do that better, that would be fine. But I generally would believe that maybe local governments could pick up some of that responsibility and possibly some savings could be approved there.
Freeholder Cabana.
The initial study the freeholders did involve the users, if you will, the people who were involved. And that study found that it actually would cost us more money by doing it because of the civil service component of the sheriff's office, while the park police are not civil service. Thereafter, the Freeholder Board did embark on a study, and that study again found that it would not be cost effective for us to do that. We're currently looking at it, myself as the chairman of the committee, as well as Freeholders Scapicchio and Krickus are studying, and we have some very viable options to look at ways that we can do some cost savings here between the agencies and look at all our options. And we're hoping over the next couple months to come to a consensus on that and bring it before the board. But right now, that's why it hasn't been done, because why would you want to pay more for something that you have a very good service right now?
And I'll just add in regards to the study that was not done and that the opponents are referring to. That study was a one-way study, sheriff going to the park police. We're looking at other options with the study group. And you know, law enforcement is very important. I've got to point out that my opponents at a previous debate pointed out that a Boston bombing would not take place here in Morris County. When we go through these studies, we look at the public safety of every person that lives in this county, and we're going to fund public safety, and we're going to do it the right way. So we're going to consolidate.
All right, any rebuttal?
They spoke about funding public safety. However, Homeland Security, they just cut that, actually. That grant just was cut recently in this budget. So if you're going to cut things like Homeland Security, I don't know how you're going to increase public safety at the same time when the two, they coincide with each other. I'd also like to mention that, you know, it's just the idea of smaller government. And using fear-mongering tactics to say, I was trying to make people feel less depressed over an issue of bringing up Boston bombing at a debate like this. I didn't try to rule it out, but at the same time, that's using fear-mongering tactics to justify your overspending.
And any Ames, any rebuttal? Next question is, last year there was a 0% tax increase in Morris County. If elected or re-elected, will you continue to support a 0% tax increase? If so, what specific programs will you cut? We'll start with candidate DeHart.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Sure. Last year there was a 0% tax increase in Morris County.
I'm sorry, can you go again? Yeah.
Last year there was a 0% tax increase in Morris County. If elected or re-elected, will you continue to support a 0% tax increase? If so, what specific programs will you cut?
I am obviously for lower taxes, being fiscally conservative. However, Taxes, since Tom Mastrangelo has been in office, have gone up by $8 million in total. And since 2007, they've gone up by $32 million. Now you can look at that from 2010 to 2013 on sheet 9, on this same budget right here that I've been reading through. I'd also like to say that in the past 6 years, we've been taxed $1.2 billion as a county as a whole. I mean, and most people, I've knocked on their doors and they don't even know what our county representatives do. Do you really feel like you've gotten $1.2 billion worth of service out of your county representatives? Because I don't.
Candidate Ames.
The freeholders are saying that their spending is down by $7 million, 317 to 310. However, their budget in 2010, when they were elected, was $308 million. So that's still $2 or $3 million, depending which budget figure you look at, higher this year than when they were elected. One of the ways they've been doing that and making it look as low as it is taking out of the open space budget, which several years ago was $44 million. When they get down to zero because they keep reducing what they put into the current budget, then we're going to have a problem with the budget because they have been cushioning their spending increases with taking less out of open space. And so Piper is going to have to be paid at some point soon. And we believe that you really need to look at government and you need to look at some ideas. That's why we talked about open space as a new idea where we don't perhaps need to be spending some of the monies we have been spending over the years.
Candidate Cabana. Or Freeholder Cabana.
The Freeholder Board has delivered a fiscally responsible budget that addresses the concerns of the residents of Morris County and delivers quality service. Throughout this campaign, our opponents have been up and around this county saying cut, cut, cut. But we have failed to hear where they want to cut, except for Mr. DeHart wanted to cut public safety, one of the largest components of county government, but one of the most important components of county government. We need to ensure our public safety on a regional basis. That's unfortunately the way of our new world after post 9/11. And that's what we have been training to do. That's how we've been budgeting. We've been working with our municipalities so that we can provide regional responses to any kind of disaster or terrorist attack that may come our way. And we're your heads in the clouds if you think that we could not be vulnerable to anything along those lines, including a Newtown or Columbine type incident in any of our schools. We need to be prepared. And this county is now prepared to respond.
Freeholder Mastrangelo.
Yes, I just need to point something out. I wasn't on the Freeholder Board in 2009, nor was I running for office in 2009. I was running for office in 2010. Doug Pan and I started working together on this budget together for the 2011, 2012, and the 2013 budget. In each of those years, the property tax change went from $4 million in 2011 to $3.9 million in 2012 to zero flat in 2013. So we've dropped that every year since we've been working on this budget together. Also, the expense change went down from $4.9 million in 2011 to $4.3 million in 2012, 6.2 to $6.2 million in 2013. Actually, a reduction of $6.2 million. So we've been reducing, and we've been keeping the belt tight, and it's been on a downward slope. Thank you.
Any rebuttal, Mr. DeHart?
Yeah, I never said that I would cut public safety. I never said that at all. Also, I'd like to add that they didn't get the funding for the Homeland Security. That's a cut. So that's cutting public safety. I didn't do it. I'm a candidate. I didn't say that, and the cut was there. You know.
And then Ames, any rebuttal?
Now, on the back table back there is a page from the Freeholders 2013 budget, which you can look at for your own information. I'm not sure why Mr. Mastrangelo was talking about 2009. If I said that, or I thought I said 2010, which was when he was elected last time. But the current expense budget is still $2
I was
million.
running in 2010.
Please, no interruptions.
Current expense budget is $2 million more now than it was when they were elected. That's the point that I was trying to make. One of the points that they make relative to cutting expenses is cutting the size of government. We believe in cutting government. He talks about preserving services.
Freeholder Cabana, any rebuttal?
it's kind of strange that Miss Ames is talking about cutting government when she was on the Hanover Board of Education. For the 8 years, taxes were raised on average of 5%. Over that time, that's 40%. So if she wants to watch out for the taxpayers of Morris County now, why didn't she watch out for the taxpayers of Hanover Township when she was elected to do so?
Freeholder Mastrangelo, any rebuttal?
Yeah, I would just add that the question of the who are the fiscal conservatives? We are the fiscal conservatives. We've dropped taxes, we've dropped spending, we've dropped borrowing, and as Mr. Crowder just pointed out, Ms. Ames being on that board for 8 years, 40% increase, 5% year over year, double the rate of inflation, and doubled that of above double the cap of the government.
Okay.
I need a second to respond.
We had rebuttal already. We'll now move on to the next question, which you happen to be answering first.
Okay.
The majority of property taxes support education. Do you support the consolidation of schools into a county-wide district in order to save on administrative and purchasing costs?
No, I do not. I believe that that the larger the level of government, this is a generally conservative principle, but the higher the level of government, the least efficient that it is frequently, because you can't be there to watch the spending, and government at a higher level spends our money wastefully. As to the question, that is completely absurd that I should be claimed to be not conservative. Anybody who spent time with me serving on that budget, on the Board of Ed, would know that. In fact, I got a referendum passed, the Delegate Assembly, to oppose a state initiative to put a $600 million bond referendum on to prevent, rather, putting it on the ballot, because that's against the Constitution. I got the School Board Association to turn their view around so that it would be supported by the public to pass a $600 million bond. That was something I did. That's completely conservative. To say I was not a conservative is ridiculous.
Freeholder Cabana.
I would support some consolidated effort at the county level for purchasing in school districts. I know several years ago there was an initiative in Trenton to try a county school board style, and it was, I think the pilot was Gloucester County, and when they were holding the public hearings, 2,000 to 3,000 people showed up in opposition to it, and they opposed the home rule. So I think it was dead after that. We haven't heard anything more, but I think as the county has done with our municipalities, working together on different purchasing, different other sharing of services and cost-saving options, our school board should be doing the same.
Okay. Candidate or Freeholder Mastrangelo.
Yes, I would support facilitating models where whether it be purchasing, whether it be cost efficiencies, without building a bigger county government, but working with the municipalities to drive to create some efficiencies amongst municipalities, and perhaps you put those municipalities in place by quadrants where they're working together to drive those costs down, and where the county just could assist in that process.
Candidate DeHart.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much self-said. It's I think that shared services should be a voluntary thing at a local level and never mandated from higher levels of government. The towns know better than anybody else, and I'd love to assist as a freeholder. However, my decision wouldn't be as important as the municipality itself. The municipality is the decision that stands. We need to start bringing back authority to the municipalities and not allowing the state government or even the county government to make decisions for the towns themselves. These representatives know better than anybody, and they're elected by the local people and the public.
Candidate Ames, any rebuttal?
Yeah, I would just add that, as a school board member, you are so constrained by collective bargaining and prevailing wage. I'll never forget my first school board meeting when my colleague stood up there and wrote out the increases for the next 3 years in the school budget. He wrote 9, 8.9, 8.8. That was for 3 years. My eyes almost popped out of my head. And I came to understand as a school board member, while you have collective bargaining laws as they are, You're not going to be able to change that significantly until and unless there is a change in the government, and Governor has been trying to do that.
Freeholder Cabana, any rebuttal?
Oh, yeah. The county has over 20 unions that we deal with. We're fortunate to have a very good relationship with our unions, and we're working with them. But we, at the county, are constrained with collective bargaining situations, which at times has not presented the optimum result as what we want. There's a couple of initiatives we'd like to pursue with our unions, but again, when you're dealing with that many unions and they all need to be treated equally, by and large, you've got a very good result for the taxpayer with those collective bargaining.
Freeholder Mastrangelo.
Yeah, I just want to point out that there was mention of bigger government forcing smaller government to do things. I recognize a lot of faces in this crowd, some mayors, council people, and we've had them all down to the freeholder office. And I don't think one elected official in this county would say that the county freeholders are forcing anything down their throats. It's a good working relationship to try to deliver shared services and work together. Lower government, middle government, state government, working together to try to get things done for the betterment of the people of Morris County.
Candidate Hart, any rebuttal?
Yes, I'd like to say that, one initiative I'd like to see happen is actually the budget proposals be done before they're approved. Right now, all the mayors basically get like a 15-minute proposal and then it's approved. And then they come back and propose it 6 months later. Riverdale hasn't even been proposed the budget. They haven't even been proposed the budget. And I'm expecting that our freeholders to do that very soon.
Thank you. The next question. The county has approximately 21,000 acres of land that has been preserved through the county trust. Do you support further acquisitions of land, and what is your position on the county tax for open space? We'll begin with Freeholder Cabana.
Well, I support the Morris County Open Space Program. It started back in 1993 by voter initiative, and any revisions that have gone through that program have been done by overwhelming voter approval. We have saved quite a bit of open space in this county. We've also protected watershed properties, increased the size of our park system, preserved farmland, historic sites, and now more recently areas of flood prone. I think it's a very beneficial program, and the residents can maintain the quality of life in our county. I think we should continue the program. We need to review the program because on several of the projects, maybe they're limited. We have decreased the tax from 4 cents down to 2 cents over the last couple of years. We should review it, but by no means should we eliminate it. It's too beneficial to all the residents of Morris County.
Freeholder Mastrangelo.
We are actually looking at the program. Back in January, we decided to start looking at the program and see what type of adjustments we make in regards to the program, if any. We recently, just a year ago, we introduced the flood mitigation program. The flood mitigation program has worked out well for a number of people throughout the county, really lower end of the county, near the Passaic River Basin and that whole area. So we need to continue with open space. It's just a matter of how much. We've cut the tax considerably, and we're looking at what our next step will be in cutting the open space again, and how much.
Candidate Hart.
In my opinion, well, the referendum so old, I wasn't even of legal age to vote when it came out. I mean, I'd like to see another referendum come around one of these days. However, I do promote a 0% tax. There's $95 million in the account at the moment, as well as 25% of land is restricted by the government in Morris County. 25% is restricted for our future. That 25% is no longer tax revenue. Our 75% of us, private homeowners, make up for that 25% in tax revenue. Also, I'd like to add that only 3 towns have actually gotten more than they put into open space. Everybody else is in the negatives on it. So I don't see a benefit there as well. I'd also like to say that there's a property in Montville where we paid $1.8 million for an area that was flood hazardous, had wetlands and high tension wires in the only buildable area. We paid $1.8 million for this with 3-year-old appraisals. No bank in the whole country would ever give a mortgage for a 3-year-old appraisal. I think it's being done irresponsibly, and this is another idea of a government program that, in my opinion, has lots of faults. And the closest thing to eternal life on this earth is another government program.
Candidate Ames.
It's interesting to me that since we've been bringing this issue up, we hear from the freeholders that they have been cutting it, which means they think maybe it should be reevaluated, and then they defend it. I think they can't decide, and I think we've been pushing the issue on them. I know that we did a survey of voters before we started putting this out, and when we phrased the question about $95 million in the fund and 25% of land being preserved already, did they favor more taxation? Voters strongly said no, somewhere between 60 and 70%, strongly. Let me just give you a couple of contrasts. Hanover Township, my town, has paid in $17 million into the county's open space trust fund. We've gotten $2 back. On the other hand, Mr. Cabana, I understand why he likes it, because like some of the outer counties or towns where there's more open space, Boonton Township has paid in $4 million and reaped $15 million back. What we are suggesting is that maybe it's time to reevaluate and reassess what's fair.
Freeholder Cabana, any rebuttal?
Yes, when Mrs. Ames came up with that fact that she just said about my hometown the other night, it was done by an Oprah request, and I told my municipal clerk, and she provided me with the Oprah information she provided to Mrs. Ames. And Boonton Township has paid in $4.2 million into the Open Space Trust Fund and has received $4.7 million in grants, of which $2.1 million of that was a joint application with Rockaway Township in Kinnelon for properties in the 3 towns. So Boonton Township has basically, like everybody else, paid what they got.
Freeholder Mastrangelo, any rebuttal?
Yeah, I just want to make a note that in 2008, the tax brought in $42 million. In 2013, the tax is going to only bring in $10 million. Each and every year that the open space tax has been cut, it's been cut because based on projections, based on need. The $95 million, $40 million of that is already committed. So we've got roughly $59 million that's left in the fund. And we have more applications coming in for flood mitigation. We have more applications coming in for open space. We've got more applications coming in for historic preservation. So we will...
Candidate DeHart, any rebuttal? Time.
Yeah, I definitely support a decrease in the open space tax, and you know, I'd like to see another referendum out there now that people are more educated about the program.
Candidate Ames, any rebuttal?
Yeah, I would just say I got the same numbers from Mr. Cabana's office also, or town hall. They do not jive with the numbers I have from open space. That's all I can say.
Okay.
From the counties, rather.
We'll have one more question from me, and then we'll turn to the questions from the audience. Anyone who has not submitted a question, this is your last opportunity. We are, again, light on audience questions. Please comment on the county's decision to participate in state and regional planning efforts. If you are currently a freeholder and voted to participate, I'll repeat the question.
I think that reacted to the question.
I think so. All right. Please comment on the county's decision to participate in state and regional planning efforts. If you are currently a freeholder and voted to participate, why did you participate? We'll begin with Freeholder Mastrangelo.
Sure. You're asking in regards to the HUD? What did you say? Did you say HUD or did you say anything?
The question which was presented to me is a general question about the county's decision to participate in state and regional planning efforts. You can address specific planning efforts in your answer if you want.
Okay. We do sit on the NJTPA, or we participate with the NJTPA, and through the NJTPA we do receive a number of dollars for our roads, our bridges throughout the county. In regards to regional planning, there was a memorandum of understanding that we did sign, and this is based on a consortium that was organized about well over a year ago. And our position was to have a seat at the table to see what type of planning or what type of actions that consortium was looking to take. And our position was to have a seat at the table, see what the other team was doing, look at their playbook. We've been accused of taking HUD money from that group and taking an entry fee. We haven't taken any HUD money. We haven't taken any entry fee, and that's basically where it stands.
Candidate Ames.
This is really the issue that really probably clinched me running for a freeholder, because we've been very concerned about this. Conservatives have followed this movement and this issue for a couple of years. In June, the freeholders signed on to this memorandum of agreement. In the same meeting, they voted voted for a resolution against Agenda 21. It's part of the same thing. It is about unelected regional bureaucrats making decisions for your county officials, for your local officials. If you want to read more about it, Westchester County, New York, is now suing the federal government to get back their rights as a county government to make certain decisions, which they feel have been taken away from them, and it's part of the same process. I believe that our county freeholders owe the people of this county better representation than just saying, we want a seat at the table. Rutgers took the $5 million and it is distributing it as they see fit. And that's different than getting money for roads from NJTPA.
Candidate DeHart.
Yeah, this is, in every way, this is larger government. Also, I'd like to add that, who's in favor of having urban development in Morris County? Raise your hand, please. Nobody? You guys aren't? Okay. Why would you sign this, really? Warren County didn't sign it, and you say it's, you get money for roads and services, but is it worth the cost of urban development in Morris County? In every way, this is larger government, and if the regional planning coming in and making decisions on where to put these, where to issue these grants, it takes away control from our local politicians and from our local municipalities. It's absolutely wrong in every way. And if you don't have principles, you would think twice about, you might think about signing this if you didn't have the principles to back it up. But fortunately, I stand by the Constitution, and this is far off from it.
And a freeholder command.
Hey, let's talk about muddy in the issue. All right, this all stems from the sustainable state plan. All right, we are a part of it, whether we like it or not. And that plan is trying to direct development to certain areas of the state and to keep other areas from being developed. Morristown, anything along our train lines, whether it be through Booton, Morristown, down through the Chathams, that's where they want to concentrate the development. They want to leave areas such as West Morris alone. There's a designation because there are many former municipal officials in the room that are knowing of the state plan. This was one component of it. This left-wing conspiracy called Agenda 21 that came up. We did listen to it. We believe there may be something to it. We did object to it. But again, we wanted to be part of being at the table so that other counties and other levels of bureaucrats aren't making plans for our county and then shoving it down our throat at a later date.
Freeholder Mastrangelo, any rebuttal?
Yes, I'll just take it from there. In regards to the Agenda 21 issue, last year's Freeholder Board passed a resolution not to support any state plan that had anything regarding Agenda 21, any undermining of Agenda 21. So we wrote letters to the governor, the lieutenant governor, legislators. We are not a legislative body. We are a policy-making body based on the budget for Morris County. And one of the policies we made this year was to reduce taxes, reduce spending, and reduce borrowing.
Candidate Ames, any rebuttal?
Yeah, I hear, we like it or not, we are a part of it. That's not an acceptable solution. That's not an acceptable answer to protect the people they are elected to represent. This is really bad stuff that's going on. We don't want them sitting at the table. We want them saying, we don't want to be a part of this, just like West Warren County is doing. Get us out. It's not good things for our people in Morris County. It undermines property rights, and once you understand it, you see it's happening everywhere.
Candidate DeHart, any rebuttal?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a very passive leadership. And I think that we need officials that will take a stand and are willing to take a stand. And I am willing to do that. I would never sign this, ever. I've read through it, I would never sign it. I met you one of six that didn't sign it, or two of five, hopefully. But at the same time, it shouldn't be signed, and it's passive leadership, it's larger government. I don't agree with it, and that's it.
Thank you. Looks like we have time for one question from the audience. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. No, we just went through rebuttal.
Yeah, he reached
That was rebuttal. We went all four answered and then all four
I thought I got a
rebuttal.
rebuttal, okay.
We'll do one question from the audience and then move on to closing statements. And we'll begin with Freeholder Cabana. Do you think the Improvement Authority should issue bonds to low-income housing and private companies?
The Improvement Authority was set up for its financial aspect. We have closely controlled the Improvement Authority through the appointment of 2 citizen commissioners, and all the rest of the commissioners are county staff. That way the freeholders can keep a rein on it. There are several advantageous reasons for using Improvement Authorities, and that's why they've been set up throughout the state. Utilizing Morris County's AAA bond rating, which we've had for nearly 40 years, the Improvement Authority, as well as our towns and school districts, are able to use that, thus lowering their bonding paybacks. In fact, Morris Knowles, in the recent bond referendum, saved well over, I think it was $1.2 million in interest payments, which they'd have to do anyway, so they did. Any of the projects that would come before the Improvement Authority, I believe, should be public work projects, and it depends. A town can come to the board and make their application. The board, as an independent authority, would need to decide that. It doesn't come to the freeholders per se.
Thank you. Freeholder Mastrangelo.
Look, I think Freeholder Cabana summed it up. The Improvement Authority allows us, as he said, to leverage our AAA bond rating to provide infrastructure projects, to provide all sorts of projects that are necessary for municipalities, Board of Education's type of infrastructure projects, and other things as well. All agree.
Candidate DeHart.
These bonds normally mature in 10 years. The Improvement Authority was created in 2002. Now, since it was created, the issuing of these bonds have now been going to local municipalities as well as private companies and low-income housing. They're using our money, our tax dollars are going towards these types of things. Solar panels, low-income housing projects. I mean, the issuing of these bonds just create political incentive in any way. It should be done more in a private manner, as well as we're risking Moody's AAA bond rating. And there's a lot of challenges here. Modest declines in equalized value, weaker economically sensitive revenues in previous years, and the list goes on. So we are really risking ourselves. These issuing of these bonds have doubled. Our taxes are going to go up in 10 years when these bonds are matured, and we have interest to pay on these bonds. Our taxes will go up significantly, and it's your children and your grandchildren you need to be watching out for. And this is, we don't need larger government coming in telling us where to spend our money.
Thank you. Candidate Ames.
If I could ask you to just repeat the question, because I don't think the incumbents answered the question you asked, so could I just ask you to read it to make sure I heard what I thought you asked before?
Do you know the question?
Yeah, but you talked about...
I'm not going to repeat it.
But you asked about low-income housing, I believe, and I don't heard
All right,
them...
I'm happy to repeat the question.
Don't think they addressed that.
I don't want to repeat it for a fact. I want to repeat it if it's necessary.
Well, I just didn't hear them address that part of the question.
Well, if you know the question, please
Okay,
answer it.
so if it addresses low-income housing, last year a lot of us were really concerned when the Foreclosure Act came along, which would have, with Senator Dick Cody's bill, which would have forced municipalities to consider first right of refusal to buy foreclosed properties in their town, or they didn't have to be. And if they didn't buy them, the state could, and deed them for 30 years to any number of categories of low-income people. That fortunately was passed the Democratic legislature, but it was vetoed by the governor. This is the Westchester County thing. It's the same issue where they're trying to force municipalities to, it's COA, it's Agenda 21, it's state plan, it's the same, it's all the same idea. I do not believe that as a county we should be forced to provide support for low-income
Freeholder
housing.
Cabana, any rebuttal?
Yes. I hear this, in 10 years we're going to have this big bond mature payment, it seems going to skyrocket. Well, it clearly shows the lack of understanding on how things work in government. This year in our budget we have debt repayment of $38 million, of which $30 million is principal and $8 million is interest. So we are significantly paying down. And now that there's a lesser rate, the amount of borrowing is like, I think, 22 million this year. We'll be paying back 21 million. We're paying 30 principal. That's how it's going.
Freeholder Mastrangelo, any rebuttal?
Yes, as far as our AAA bond rating, it's going to be fine. We've already been indicated by Moody's that we're going to be fine. We'll be getting our AAA bond rating. And we've got one of the lowest debt ratios in the state, if not the country. And if the United States government was run like Morris County, we'd all be in a pretty good situation.
And a hard and the rebuttal.
Our county debt service has gone up in the past 3 years by $2 million. We pay $7 million in interest on our debt alone this year. So you say a flat tax, you can say all these things, but it doesn't cover that $7 million we just paid in interest on our debt. I mean, a lot of towns pride themselves in a pay-as-you-go system. That's fiscal conservatism. That's not what fiscal conservatism is about. And you know, even on your flyer, you guys say conservative Republicans. I hope that everybody votes for conservative Republicans because that's our name on the ticket. So please do.
Kennedy Ames.
The net debt of the county, according to their figures in 2010, was $249 million. As of the end of 2012, it was $259 million. By my count, that's $10 million more than it was 3 years ago. We need to reduce the debt. It is a significant part of county taxes. It's somewhere, I believe it's about 17%, and it needs to be reduced.
Thank you. We'll move on to closing statements. We'll go in reverse order, beginning with Freeholder Cabana.
Again, thank you. 90 seconds. Thank you all again for coming out tonight. I've stood before you several times now and asked for your vote, and you've entrusted me with that and the honor to serve as your Morris County Freeholder. I hope that I have fulfilled your expectations. I come with no agenda to this job, but what I do come is to do the best job for the people of Morris County. I, Tom, and Kathy proudly run on our records as municipal and county officials. Barbara Ames should be running from her record as a public official. It's so horrendous. We present ourselves as a good government alternative. We are conservatives. We have a proven record because of the budget, the way we run our county. And we can continue doing that with your support. And I ask you to support Cabana, Mastrangelo, and DiFilippo on June 4th. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I started my introduction that I stood before you 2.5 years ago, and 3 years ago, I'm saying that, and been in office for 2.5 years, and made promises to reduce taxes, reduce spending, create transparency. You heard tonight, we accomplished that. We reduced the budget, we reduced borrowing by $7.7 million, we reduced spending by $2.3 million. It's the first 0% in 15 years. We've aggressively cut the open space, keeping in mind all the programs and the needs of those open space programs. So we believe we are approaching government intelligently, systematically, methodically, and you know, you could come in and say cut, and we are, but if you cut a little too much, you may not have some services. Actually, in this budget, we wound up delivering this 1.7% reduction. And if you think about it, we could have went up to 2%. We could have sat back, put our legs up on the table, leaned back like this, and said, let's raise taxes 2%. We swung it the other way, almost a 4% swing the other way. That took a lot of work, that took a lot of time. I've kept my promises. I've kept my promises with my running mates. I'm proud to be running with my running mates, and I hope I have your support. Thank you. Last thing I wanted to add. The services, we didn't cut any services. Thank you.
I don't believe you can borrow your way into prosperity. It is not economically feasible. Another thing I'd like to say is, in the Star Ledger in 2010, Tom himself said that Doug Cabana was gaming in the pension system by having 7 part-time municipal prosecutor jobs along with his freeholder post and rewarding lobbyists as Morris representative to the New Jersey Association of Counties. I'm asking everyone here to please do the right thing, and try to make a difference, and don't be so afraid of change sometimes. Okay? We need to seriously promote smaller government and stop what is going on in this country. We're $16 trillion in debt nationally, and we're over $250 million in debt in our county. We need to be more responsible, and we got to stop being afraid of promoting smaller government and being truly conservative, not just as a Republican, but to yourselves, for your individual rights, for your own freedom. Thank you.
I think Freeholder, Mr. Angelo gave me my opener, which was, we didn't cut any services. The doors of the people I knock on want their taxes cut. If we're not going to even suggest that we may need to look to make some cuts, yes, maybe we need to cut some services to keep money in the pockets of the people. People are fleeing New Jersey. We all know that. When I grew up here, you know, in around 1960, and Morris County was a hub. Businesses and residents are leaving the state. There's Mercatus Institute put us as 49th or 48th out of 50 on the Freedom Index because of our abuse of property rights, which is the HUD issue and the property rights issue that we've been talking about. People are leaving the state. I knock on the doors of people who say, I'll be gone next year. I'm leaving when I retire. I can't stay here. They laugh when I suggest the taxes could actually go down. How do we do that? How do we reduce taxes unless our leaders really believe that they can actually do that? And maybe we need to make the tough decisions and talk about actually reducing services someplace. We do that in our own budgets. When our budgets are down over the last several years, we don't go out to eat. We go on a less expensive vacation. We buy a less expensive car. We do it in our home budget. We should expect nothing less of our elected officials. I've told you where their expenses are up. We need to do more.
Thank you. Thank you to all the candidates for engaging debate. I'll turn it back.
All right, just a reminder, if everyone needs any lawn signs, there's signs here on the way out. I'd like to thank all the clubs again, and Jake and Mark for timekeeping, and the candidates. We wish all of them luck, and remember to vote on June 4th. Thank you for attending.